Before we get into the content, we like to encourage you to join the conversation in the comments down below. While you're down there, consider subscribing to Utah Jazz DNA. Smash that like button for your boy Darren.
That's right. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. First, let's talk about the first most important subject of the day that we have. The reason why we're doing this solo show today is the Utah Jazz have made Darryn Peterson a member of the Utah Jazz. Again, what we want to talk about is just get our first reactions in regards to that. We want to talk about his fit with this current team, how he fits in the rotation, what we're expecting the starting rotation to be. Do we have any concerns when it comes to the young guard? And when can we expect to see him in action for the Utah Jazz this summer, potentially later? That's what we want to hear from you guys, folks. Once again, folks, if you are watching this on Utah Jazz DNA, I want to first of all take this moment to first of all give you some appreciation. This channel has grown to leaps and bounds over the last 90 days. I think we've more than 5x our subscriber count, and it's all thanks to you, all thanks to this, great summer that the Jazz have been able to put together, or late spring, early summer, the Jazz have been able to put together with the fact that we got a great pick in the draft, and we were able to get all the way up to number 2 and get our guy. We got our guy. We got Darryn Peterson. I know a lot of folks were hoping that we would end up seeing AJ Debonsa on this team. While I thought that was a possibility, there's just no arguing with the fact that Darryn Peterson was easily the most talented guy in this draft and most NBA ready player. Some would argue Boozer would be, but you guys know my take on that. If the Jazz were not willing to trade down to get Boozer, then there was just really no point to go after him. I honestly think that Darryn Peterson was the best option for the Utah Jazz, and I'm glad that that's how it all broke down for sure. We got some comments here. Let's go ahead and jump into the first one from Car Wash Channel. Finally, the tanking is over since Donovan Mitchell era. No more tanking, and rebuilding is over. I think the Jazz won this draft. I'm ready to see how DP plays in the Summer League. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Love it. Thanks for jumping in there, Car Wash Channel, and letting us know what your reaction was. More importantly, as far as the reactions go, my first more importantly, obviously, because it's just my reaction, it's not that important. But when it comes to my reaction, when I heard the news that we got Darryn Peterson, it just kind of felt like, first of all, I was excited. I was excited that Jazz didn't do anything like what I would consider stupid, like, drafting somebody that shouldn't be taken number 2. There was a lot of talk about, the Jazz potentially taking Cam Boozer. And while Cam Boozer is going to be a great player, I think he's going to be an all-star in this league. That was not the player that the Utah Jazz needed to take. We already have an all-star caliber, power forward, former defensive player of the year. We have that spot taken care of. I know in the draft, you're just taking the best talent available. But in that case, he still wasn't the best talent available at that pick. So for me, there was probably just a whole lot of that pomp and circumstance. A lot of this draft went chalk, right? You had AJ Debonsa going number 1 to DC. We're going to see how he fits in there, especially with Trae Young signing his 4-year contract extension. I believe it was 4 years. We're going to see how that plays out, how he fits in with there. Do they keep AD? What happens going on there? The Utah Jazz take the number 2 pick, and they pick Darryn Peterson, and then you slide on down to Memphis, who picks Cam Boozer. And, then obviously the Cody Cake goes to, I believe, Chicago was the number 4 team, if I remember correctly. I don't know. After the Jazz took their pick, I kind of just clued out and didn't really pay attention to most of the draft after that. There's a lot of talk about movement. There was a lot of talk from Shams talking about a lot of trades going to be happening during the draft. And I honestly think that was just a lot of circumstance, a lot of pomp and circumstance that people were feeding these, beat writers and these people, these content creators something to talk about to kind of generate some potential interest to try and position themselves better, right? I mean, obviously you have, DC who's playing it super close to the chest to see if the Jazz are willing to do anything to move up. You also had the Jazz doing everything they could to show the potentially moving down by saying they're really interested in Cam Boozer to see if we can get anything going on with the Grizzlies. There's just a whole lot of that going on, and really, in all honesty, it was just a chalk move, chalk draft. Everybody ended up where they're supposed to, and a lot of that was for not there. I mean, we all pretty much agreed, at least with the comments in this show that we've seen over the last couple episodes with you guys, our audience here, that you guys pretty much agreed with us that we were probably going to see a chalk thing where we saw AJ DeBenz at 1, Darryn Peterson 2, Cam Boozer 3. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. Got another comment here from channel legend Greg Hawkins, solo show. Yeah, again, just right off the top from top of the episode there. AJ had a very, unfortunate timed vacation that he had planned. Maybe he didn't realize it was, right around the time of the draft. I don't know, but unfortunately he wasn't able to make it for this show. So hopefully he'll be back next week and we can chat about it and chat about his first reactions and kind of catch him up. But again, want to do this. Typically we don't do solo shows, but I wanted to do this one just simply because I felt like, again, by the time we have AJ and me in those chairs back there, by the time we are back together, our first reaction is going to be past, it's going to be over, and it's going to be kind of old news. So I wanted to first get on here, get some reactions from you folks, and let us know, and hear from you guys. Let me know what you guys are thinking on that. So with that said, again, first reactions. What I want to talk about here is Darryn Peterson's actually first reaction when he saw the watch party that he at the Delta Center. I don't know if you guys caught that, but there was some videos floating around there on the Instas, the shorts, all the short form content that we all know and love floating around out there, showing him reacting to the Fan Fest when his name was announced there at the Delta Center. And you can just see that reaction in his face, knowing that this fan base is really excited to have him here. And it's really cool to hear what he said afterwards. He talked about, which we'll get into here in a moment when we talk about some of the things that he said after the draft, after he found out he was coming to Utah, which would be great to get into. But yeah, mainly that first reaction. Not only, first of all, the watch party out there was, really exciting. Loved to see all those fans out there. Loved their reaction when they drafted Darryn Peterson. And again, love seeing his reaction to the crowd that was there and shouting and cheering when they picked him. So that was super awesome. One of the first comments that we got here from him is that he talked about how comfortable he was when he spoke with the Jazz. So there's a lot of talk about a secret workout that the Jazz had. This was something that came out on Reddit, which is always a great source for news, right? But on Reddit, they did mention there was a secret workout that came out for the Utah Jazz for Darryn Peterson. And while that's not what happened, they did actually meet. They did travel out to Chicago to meet with Darryn Peterson there. And he just said, I remember telling my agent after the meeting that I felt super comfortable. I liked it. I liked their energy. I liked that they could have a good conversation with those guys. I know if they take me, I'm going to be super comfortable and excited to get there, which was one of the things that he said there about being about the Utah Jazz, which is great. One of the other things he said here that I think is going to be the most important to take away from this is that obviously you want to be the number 1 pick, but when you slide down to 2, I'm prepared to go to Utah, get to work. There's always going to be a chip on my shoulder. I wouldn't say that it added anything else, but I'm always going to have that in mind my whole career, not only just going after the one person in front of me, but anybody else too. Was with the quote that I heard on DJ and PK this morning, grabbing my morning coffee, which it's always great when you get a chance to catch that, when you get a chance to catch some of those radio interviews. So very, very cool to hear that. It kind of lets you know more of his mindset that we really didn't get to see a whole lot while he was playing at Kansas. There was a lot more of that, that rhetoric around his injury, his cramping, his dehydration, and all that stuff. The creatine. I mean, you guys saw that episode. First of all, everybody loved that you guys tuned into that. I think that was our first 2,000 view video on the channel. So that was super awesome that you guys saw that. You guys know our opinion when it comes to that. And obviously when it comes to, that narrative, I don't know how many folks actually took it seriously, that he wasn't a team player, that he was out for numero uno. Not really sure how much of that was, really true, or if it was, again, just media spin to trying to shape things the way they wanted to go. So yeah, love that he has that mindset. Love that he's going to have that kind of competitive edge to him, and he's going to put the best foot forward here for the Utah Jazz. And now one of the things I want to bring up is the concerns around Darryn Peterson. And that's kind of the one thing that I think everybody's going to have when it comes to this kid is going to be his availability, right? They say your best ability is your availability. If you're not able to lace him up and get on the court, then you're not going to be much use to anybody. This quote that he says here, play all 82. So when it comes to when he asked about what his goals were coming into the league, what I loved is that he never mentioned, oh, I want to be rookie of the year, or I want to win this, I want to win that. It was all about, I want to play 82 games, and I want to make it to the playoffs and try and get a ring. All those things outside of the play 82 were team focus, which you got to love that. But that's kind of the key thing there, is that play that 82. Now I saw a stat on, I can't remember which website it was. I think it was on Bleacher Report, where they reported that Darryn Peterson has not played more than 30 games a season since high school, since early high school, which is a concern. Is this kid going to have the endurance and the ability to play a full 82 game plus schedule for the Utah Jazz? We know it's going to be more than just 82 because from, obviously, if you guys watched our previous episodes, we are all expecting the Utah Jazz to become at least a play-in team. Both AJ and I are expecting them to be a little bit higher than that when it comes to this year, potentially avoiding the play-in altogether. But the West is stacked, so we didn't make any sweeping declarations. At least I didn't. AJ, he made his sweeping declaration, which means on the show I have to wear it too, that the Jazz will be winning 50 games this year. So we'll see how close they get to that number. But yeah, he wants to play all 82. Going from playing less than 30 games to going to play all 82 plus whatever playoff schedule the Utah Jazz end up playing is going to be kind of tricky. We're going to have to see if he has that in him and how the Jazz position that, again, with any health concerns they may have. I don't know. I'm hoping that they, rest him in times where they need to, and not really kind of overextend him or overexpose him too early on in the season, and again, risk the potential of any injury. Got another comment here from friend of the channel, Tammy Price. Nice to hear. He has a team focus. Absolutely. Team focus, I think, is really nice. Most of them will always come into the press conference saying the right thing. But you can kind of see that the chip on his shoulder is going to be more about proving himself as a player and really being there as part of the team and really kind of, what's the best way to put that? Kind of, I don't know. He's going to put the team first, but he's also going to make sure that, he's got that chip on his shoulder. He's got that work in him. A lot of generous comparisons this guy's made, and I won't dive into those because you guys probably heard all of them over the last couple of weeks here. But yeah, again, so just main concern is whether or not he can stay healthy over the course of a full 82 game season and going into the playoffs. Again, he had injuries with Kansas. Some of them are a little less serious than others, and we'll kind of get into that more on as the summer continues as we go into summer league. Once AJ's back, we'll kind of dive into more of those and see if we're seeing anything early on that can indicate that there's more there, right? Next, let's go ahead and talk about how he fits in with this team, how Darryn Peterson is going to fit in with this Utah Jazz team. Now, if you look at this schedule before so this is one thing I always wanted to chat about. I don't know if we ever made the time. The part about this draft that's really made it nice for the Utah Jazz is that this team was already in a great position before he was drafted by the Utah Jazz. This team, if they were just simply to go out there and try and win basketball games, we already had a playoff team on the roster. Our starting roster would have been Keyonte George, Ace Bailey, Lauri Markkanen, Triple J, and then Walker Kessler is our starting five. Then you also have the bench where you have Flip, you have Isaiah Collier, you have Bryce Sensabaugh, you have Cody Williams. AJ's not here to correct me if I just said a football player or not. Guys, let me know in the chat. I kept getting that kid's name wrong all the time. But yeah, when it comes to our depth, it's definitely there, right? So this team was already positioning itself to be a great playoff team. And then you add the most talented player in the draft to this team, and it's just going to, it's going to be even better. It's going to be really exciting just to watch some Jazz basketball and watch this team actually try to compete and win basketball games. It's going to be great. So how do I see it working out? I do see anybody who says Darryn Peterson's not going to start over Ace Bailey. I don't know what you're smoking or where you're getting that from, but yeah, that's not going to happen. This team is going to be starting KG3 at the 1, Darryn Peterson at the 2, or potentially flip-flopping those. I could see it going either way. Maybe that's a subject for a future subject there, because before Keyonte got shut down and they brought in Isaiah Collier, he was leading the league in assists for the first month of the season. Keyonte was. So we'll have to see where they put those guys. If it's one or two and then just want to flip-flop them depending on matchups, we'll see. But then you're going to have Lauri Markkanen at the 3, Triple J at the power forward spot, and then Walker Kessler at the 5. That's where I see this team being. As far as their starting rotation, then you've got Ace Bailey coming off the bench, as well as some other really talented players backing them up as we go through, and we'll explore those in greater detail. But I think he's going to fit in perfectly fine with this team. There's a lot of talk about how the fact that Keyonte George and Darryn Peterson are represented by the same company as far as their agency is the same, and they were worried about him coming here and potentially hurting Keyonte George's numbers as he's going into a contract year. Is that possible? Yes, maybe that's worth the subject talking about as well down the road, but I don't see that being a problem for these guys. I think these kids are going to get along pretty well, and I think Darryn Peterson is going to fit in nicely. The Jazz have kind of missed that secondary option, where playmaking option outside of Keyonte. Lauri Markkanen is more of a pick and pop type guy, and then if he's got great coverage, then he would drive into the lane, try and score that way. So there's just different things that adding a playmaking guard who can shoot it from all 3 spots, kind of changes the way teams are going to attack Utah defensively. And again, I like that we didn't draft anybody short. I think it's awesome. He's 6'5", 6'6". I can't remember what we talked about. We talked about height, but love that we didn't go the Darius Acuff route and go with a 6'2" guard. No more short kings here in Salt Lake when it comes to the Jazz. But yeah, so again, we want to hear from you folks. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments down below when it comes to Darryn Peterson. Are you as excited as we are? I am super excited. I think the Jazz got the right player for this team, the right pick. They got the most talented player in the draft, and that's definitely nothing you can't argue with right there. So yeah, I'm going to come on that. Look forward to seeing how this kid develops over the summer, just like you said there, Carlos channel. And yeah, love for more to see from that kid. Moving on here, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Walker Kessler. There's been some updates regarding him over the last couple days here. Obviously, when we met last week, we did talk about how he did turn down that 5-year, $140 million offer sheet that he got from the Utah Jazz. There's lots of talk around that contract. A lot of folks in our comments there were telling us, saying, hey, that was more than generous. It's an overpay. He should have taken that. And, obviously I could agree with that to a little bit of extent here, but I think what Walker Kessler is really doing is he understands his value outside the organization, that some teams are going to be willing to go higher than that. Now with the draft and how a lot of the big men were taken during certain key spots, which would kind of eliminate his ability and eliminate some of his options, depending on what, Washington does with AD and, how they plan to work that whole, Giannis going to Miami. It's kind of weird how that all worked out, but we'll see how that changed his market. We'll see if it improved it or made it worse. But you still have the Lakers there that are seriously looking for a pick and roll partner for lobs for Luka. I do think what they have available there for him may be a little bit different, may not be as much as what the Jazz can offer, but it might be enough to entice them to raise that offer a little bit. So we'll see. I technically don't disagree with him being worth a little bit more than that $28 million AAV, what he was getting, what he was offered. The issue that I see with that is that I don't know how much higher it's going to be, right? So who's going to come in and offer him more for the same amount of time frame, or is it going to be less for a shorter time frame or more for a shorter time frame? I don't really know what the offer is going to be there, and I don't really know who has got the cap space to really do that. Here's another interesting thing when it came to the Walker Kessler update. There was some talk, a lot of rumors flown around. I actually heard this one on Hoops Nerd Show as well as on Reddit. I read it on Reddit, which again, always a great place to go for news, but it was a rumor about the Jazz, so it's worth chatting about a little bit here. And it's looking that Walker Kessler could potentially, rumor has it, look for a shorter term deal with a higher AAV, something like 3 years, $90 million. which would be interesting because that would put him in more flexible spacing for potential exit if he doesn't like where the Jazz are at in 3 years, or if he feels like he's playing above at 28 million or above that 30 million. Obviously, the NBA cap is going to continue to go up over year, and so in 3 years he'd still be, well within his early prime to put himself in a position for a max contract. So that might be what he's trying to do. He might be positioning himself for a shorter term deal with a higher AAV. I don't know. Knowing that he rejected the 5-year, $140 million contract, what do you guys think he's going to put in there? Like, what is your expectation of a contract that you think he's going to sign? I think he's going to go for 4 years, $120 million. I think he's going to get a 30-year AAV. Hopefully, I did the math right on that. It is late here in Salt Lake City, guys, and not that late, but yeah, that's my thought. I think he's going to go for a 4-year, $30 million AAV, putting him right around the $120 million mark is what I'm guessing he's going to go with for the Utah Jazz. That's just my guess. Love to hear from you guys. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, where you think the Utah Jazz will end up at as far as signing the great Walker Kessler, this guy Walker himself, when it comes to him lining back with the Jazz. When it comes to that here, folks, I believe that's all I want to talk about when it comes to the Utah Jazz. Again, as a reminder, folks, I want to quickly say how much AJ and I know he's not here, but I'm definitely going to speak for him on this one, how much we appreciate the growth this channel's had over the last 90 days. I think it said something like 3,000 times the amount of subscribers we'd had over the last 90 days. When this channel first started, probably, gosh, it took about 3 months to get to our first 100 subscribers, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on the comments down below on that one. DNA OGs there. But from there, really took off right around the end of the season, right around that chase for the bottom. And then obviously when we got announced that we're getting the number 2 pick, things just skyrocketed and just flew after that. So hopefully a lot more of you are sticking around for the long haul with the Utah Jazz and our coverage going forward with them, because we'd love to get into it with you. Again, let us know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Anything we talked about, that's kind of the nature of this show, where it's kind of like you're just chatting with your friends about sports. And that's kind of what we wanted this to be. So chime in the comments, let us know what your thoughts are when it comes to Utah Jazz. And again, greatly appreciate all the support on this channel and all the growth that you guys have given us so far.
Thanks for watching. We'd like to encourage you to join the conversation in the comments down below. While you're down there, consider subscribing to Utah Jazz DNA if this is the type of content that you enjoy. While you're down there, smash that like button for your boy Darren.
That's right.